Hey everyone, welcome to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West. I am accompanied by Adam Carlson.
Yo.
Hey Adam, Kyle Smith is out this week because he is moving across the country from New York to Tennessee.
I hear there's stuff in Tennessee. Country music, cowboy hats, line dancing.
Titans. The
Oh, yeah,
Tennessee
yeah.
Titans. Yeah. He is a really big country music fan, so that is going to be a perfect fit for him. So that means you guys are stuck listening to Adam and I talk about the Vikings this week.
Yeah, we're hoping to have kind of a shortish show, but you know how that goes sometimes.
We say that all the time, and then about an hour and a half into it, we're talking about. And then when we drafted Christian Ponder.
Yeah, we start going off on weird tangents.
We like our tangents here at the show. Hey, Tiffany, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for hopping in, Tiffy.
So what do you name this episode? Salary Cap Slap.
Yep. Because the Vikings did get a little bit of a slap on their salary cap. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about possible contract extensions for Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer. We got some rule changes. Little short episode, but that'll be okay. Not much Vikings news going on right now.
Now, plus next week, hopefully we'll have Mr. Smith back if he's settled in a little bit and ready. But for now, it's just be the two of us talking about really minuscule stuff going on with the Vikings. But hey, come on, hang out, ask some questions. Let's have some fun.
Right. If you guys want anything you want us to talk about, just hit us up in the chat room, and we will let you guys know. Skol Sergio, thanks for joining us.
That's
Hey,
right.
Adam, do you know who Peter King is?
I do.
Do you follow the Peter King of the NBC Sports?
I don't, but every once in a while he'll write an article that I got to check out, so I'm aware of his work.
I like Peter King. I actually think he's probably a Vikings fan, too, because he does a lot of coverage for the Minnesota Vikings. So there you go. So he
but
did
he's a bit of a
list.
realistic Vikings fan, which is something I like.
Yeah, I do, too. Unlike the Paul Allens of the world. Peter King gives a little more critical analysis of the team, which I like. I respect that. I think that it's cool. He's one of the few big sports personalities that I feel like covers the Vikings as much as the other teams in the league.
Oh yeah,
Definitely. So he did a list of the top 10 teams as power rankings. Minnesota fell just out of the top 10. He had us slotted in the number 11 spot. So we don't quite have us in the top 10, so we're just on the outside looking in. Do you want to go through Peter King's top 10?
No, but we should talk about why we think the Vikings were put there.
Gotcha. So
now, I do believe the Vikings are still a playoff team. I think they've got a lot of talent.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have every opportunity in the world to make it into the playoffs and maybe win a game or two. You never know. But the Vikings did have some losses. Some key players, some starters on defense are gone. Now the offensive line is going to look different. They lost one of their big receiving weapons. So I understand why Peter King would be skeptical when putting together his list and why the Vikings would fall outside the top 10 because of those factors.
Yeah, I agree. We're relying on a lot of unproven talent. A lot of rookies are going to have to step up. A lot of new faces for the secondary in particular for this team. So I would see why, because you don't quite know how they're gonna shake out, that you would not put the Vikings in the top 10. We beat the Packers, though. The Packers were at number 12 on his list. So Skol, Minnesota for edging out Green Bay.
I think people are just still a little down on Green Bay's draft.
Yeah, I agree. For anyone curious, he had the Chiefs and Ravens as the top two spots, which I think it's difficult to argue with either of those. It is interesting that the first time in a long time you don't see the Patriots listed in an off-season power ranking in the top 10. And, he's got Tampa Bay with Tom Brady out there in Tampa at the number 5 spot. So
Yeah, a lot of hype there. So I'm not
Definitely.
sure if that's going to work out, but it sure is a good possibility with all that talent they've got.
Yeah, definitely. We have some rule changes as well. Some 2020 rule changes. I think the big one that a lot of people were excited for, Adam, was the option to go for it on fourth down instead of punting the football. And the NFL decided that they weren't ready to move forward with that yet. They wanted to do more analysis,
Right.
which I get because that's a really big rule change. And they have made some tweaks to it as well, too, where they said that you could only do it twice a game. Because I know when it was initially proposed, we were joking, like, if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you've got Patrick Mahomes, you go for it every fourth down.
Right.
I would literally never punt the football and would go for it every fourth down. So they did put some minor tweaks in there where they said they were going to limit it to only twice a game. So I'm not sure what else they want to look at with that potential rule. But it is that one was shelved. I kind of wanted to see it happen, but at the same time, I think it would have completely took the surprise onside kick out of the game. So that's
Yeah.
kind of a pretty big change to it. I'm okay with them taking their time and
Absolutely. It's nice to see some ideas getting thrown around, even if
right.
they don't go into being practice. But still, I mean, I love that the game is trying to change and adapt with the times, and they got to see some different gameplay with a couple different leagues now with the AAF and the XFL and the other leagues that are around. And the fact the NFL is trying to make some adjustments is reassuring.
Right. I don't remember. Did we ever even get a chance to see the XFL's overtime, like shootout rule?
Not that I know of.
I don't think any of the regular season games ever actually went to overtime because I was interested to see how that would have worked, but we never got a chance with that one.
No.
Some of the ones here that I wrote down for rule changes: teams can now designate 3 players to return from injured reserve. It was previously 2. Now it's been bumped up to 3. This is one that Rick Spielman and the Minnesota Vikings are going to take advantage of.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, if there's one thing that Rick loves to do, it's, hey, we'll take a player, we'll put him on IR. That means we can bring in another body for a short amount of time. We can see what happens. We can bring him back. Up to 3 players can be brought back from injured reserve. I like this.
Yeah, I think it'll benefit a lot of teams that have injuries during the preseason or early in the season and allow those players to come back and be able to make an impact with their team. The Vikings have had some bad luck in the past with losing players that are absolutely instrumental to their team early in season, and this will kind of bring back some hope where they won't have to pick and choose who they'll have going forward.
I think it's important for player safety as well. Just the fact that you have like 3 players that you can put on IR and you can kind of let them sit and get healthy and know that hey, we'll be able to bring you back. Like, we don't have to, keep them on the active roster even though they're injured and kind of play. It's like, and play that game. You can just kind of like, hey, we can put you on IR, you can take your time, you can come back. When you're ready to come back, we can bring you back to the roster, because now we got that extra space to do that with. So I think that's an important, good decision for the team.
Just a heads up, when you move the mic away from your face, I start to be able to hear a fan kind of loudish.
Oh, you can hear my air conditioner.
Ah.
Let me shut that off. I was hoping you wouldn't be able to hear my air conditioner, Adam.
I'm going to need it tomorrow. It's going to get up to 85 around here.
Yeah, it was already hot enough today.
Yeah, not fun at all.
Okay, so the next one was... We've seen this happen a couple times last year. It was scoring plays and turnovers negated by a foul are now subject to automatic... that's the next one I wanted to talk about. So this one, really quick, was scoring plays and turnover plays negated by a foul are now subject to automatic replay, rewind, review. so that if you have like a scoring play or a turnover and there's a foul on it, they're automatically going to go back and take a look at it. I like that because those are important plays. You want to make sure you get them right.
You don't want the game slowed down, but you also want to make sure that everything on the field is getting called properly and that it's not going to make a difference in the outcome of a game. So while the inconvenience is there, I think it's better to get it right.
Right, definitely. Skull Austin, thanks for joining us in the chat room. They also expanded the defenseless player protection on kick and punt returns. So we're just going to make sure more for player safety on those kick and punt returns where you got players running full speed at one another.
Yeah, you hate to see a guy just catch the ball and get blasted.
Yeah.
I know a lot of fans love that because they love watching the hit. But yeah, that's not safe.
Yeah. You ever heard Pat McAfee talk about that?
No.
Talking about just seeing the player collision at full speed out there, and just how terrifying that was back in the old days when you could have when you could have the full wedge block and you'd have just two players running full speed at one another, lowering their helmets and just like lighting one another up. It is exciting, but it's definitely like player safety. You definitely don't really want that moving forward.
No, and it also opens things up a little bit more, too, for maybe a little bit more explosive returns. Because you don't got to worry about getting hit really early.
Yeah, because now you're more along the lines of, like, one missed tackle away from breaking a big play.
Because let's be honest, kickoffs now are basically nothing when it comes to in terms of possibility of returns.
Right.
Most people just boom them through the end zone or they'll take a knee. That excitement of the game is pretty much gone. So now maybe there'll be a little something with punt returns. I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that one. This is the other one that I was saying where teams can't manipulate the clock, the game clock, with multiple dead ball fouls. This is funny because this is the wording that I took from the Vikings website, where it says, a loophole in the rule book that numerous teams utilized late in games in 2019. Such as the New England Patriots.
Ooh.
It was the Patriots did that, and then the Titans did that to the Patriots in the postseason. So, that loophole, I think we all kind of knew was going to get closed up.
Yeah.
And it did. Although it was really funny to see that happen to New England after they did it to another team previously in the season. But so we can't do that no more. That's done with.
That's all done. So yeah, there's some rules in the works that they're looking at for maybe in the future. There are these new rules that should make the game a little bit more entertaining and safe. Overall, it's a nice bunch of changes, I think.
Yeah, I like it, and I like the way that there's not like a big rule change that feels like it's going to alter the game. For the past couple seasons, they've had some really big changes that they've done to it, and a lot of them are done with the intent of player safety, so you can't argue where the league is coming from. But we've seen a lot of times it was like the referees were having a difficult time calling some of the rule adjustments early on in the season. There was an adjustment period to it, and so I don't think that we're quite going to have that adjustment period this season, which is a positive.
Yeah, I hope that's not the case either.
Let's see here. Pro Football Focus. Hey, we like those guys. They named Anthony Harris number 30 on its list of top 50 players. Harrison Smith was ranked number 35 and Danielle Hunter at number 50.
When you have a list that short of 50 people and there are 3 Vikings on it, that's a good sign.
It's a pretty good sign. Yeah.
Especially when you consider the 32 teams, and some teams probably have multiple players in that top anyway, and most teams probably don't have any.
Yeah. It was fun to read the comments on Twitter for Anthony Harris, because there are a lot of people who, Anthony Harris isn't really a name player outside
No.
of Minnesota. So Vikings fans know how important Anthony Harris is to the team and how good of a player he is, but a lot of other fans really aren't aware of that. So it was a lot of fun to kind of go through the comments and read and see what everyone was saying about him as well.
Yeah, he's a good player, and he's been good for a couple seasons now. So I can understand why Pro Football Focus has taken notice of him, why fans have taken notice of him,
Right.
and why the Vikings were willing to invest what they did in him. It all makes sense.
Right, and like we had talked about, he had signed the was it the franchise tag?
Yep.
I think was that last week we talked about that? I don't remember, but yeah, he signed the franchise tag, so you're going to see him and Harrison Smith out there in the backfield for Minnesota this season, which I think is really important to have that continuity of those two because there is the rest of the backfield is going to look drastically different for Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, that's secondary, aside from those safeties.
It's a
Oof,
completely different secondary.
it's true.
Yeah, yeah. This one was interesting too. I found a tweet from a reporter here who he did some projections for like what teams have for salary cap versus dead money. The dead money in the cap. So that's like players they've cut, just money that doesn't count for anything for the year. So there were 11 teams in the NFL that currently have more dead money than cap space. And so right now, the Minnesota Vikings have 20.4 million in dead money and only 12.3 million in available cap space. So basically, what that means to me, I'll let you chime in too, Adam, is that the team that we have right now is what we have moving forward. There's not a lot of wiggle room for signing other players, other free agents, bringing in any other big name signings. They really don't have much space to work with.
Well, there's still a lot they could do to move some money around. They could work out a team friendly deal with Anthony Harris. Like you said, they
Right?
still got that 10 million available. There are some players they're probably still interested in. I'm sure they'd still like to bring Everson Griffin back if the deal was right. And there's some free agents out there that could probably help the team. But the Vikings kind of have to be really conscious here of not overspending and maybe even carrying some of their salary cap over to next year
Right.
because they have got a lot of money coming up in the future here. They've given several players extensions kicking the can down the road, and it could come back to bite them.
Yeah, it definitely could. I think Everson Griffin is a name that you would be looking for Minnesota to potentially bring back. I was talking about that on the Facebook page. But I think that Griffin is going to be one where you can wait, and if he doesn't sign with any other team, we can kind of see what we have for younger players. Maybe bring him back for the veteran minimum on kind of a 1 year deal. Once we get into the season, if we feel like we need to bring him on board, I think that that's what you look for Everson for a potential return to the team.
So far, there have been a couple of rumors about Everson landing somewhere else, but those have been
Cleveland.
quickly debunked. And Cleveland is still looking for a pass rusher, and I'm sure that Everson is trying to get the best deal he can possibly get out there, and I don't blame him because he is a talented player. But there's that part of me that's still got the nostalgia and would really like to see him come back to the defensive line across from Danielle Hunter. So I don't know. But we do have a question in the chat here. We've got Austin asking, is a quarterback that hasn't played in 4 years in Colin Kaepernick better than Sean Mannion? And would he be worth what little cap space we have left? Now, I'm going to probably ruffle a little bit of feathers with this, but when Colin Kaepernick left the league, he was not a good quarterback.
Right.
Early in his career in the NFL, he was making some great plays. He was in wonderful football shape. And I don't know, in the 4 years that he's been gone, I'm not sure if how much of his heart is still in football, how much they'd have to pay him because he's got sponsorships, he's got
Hmm.
commitments, he's got speeches and stuff that he gets paid a lot of money for. And an NFL team would probably have to pay him quite a bit of money to get him to come to their team. And it'd be a lot of money for a backup. And for some reason, Minnesota is very high on Sean Mannion. They see him as being someone who can help Kirk Cousins in the locker room, someone that's got experience, someone who is just right for the team. And while I don't quite see that the way they do, you can't argue with their decision to be able to stick with him. So I don't think he's going to come to Minnesota. If I were ahead of the team, I know I'd be doing extensive workouts with him and talking with Colin Kaepernick to see where his head's at, what his interests are. And honestly, since I'm not a Sean Mannion believer, I'd also like to know what the Vikings have in Browner and Browning. It's Browning, and the rookie quarterback that they just picked up.
Hmm. I'm also not a very big fan of Sean Mannion. And by that I mean not at all. I really don't. Unlike you, I don't know what the Vikings see in him on the field. So, am I gonna take him or Colin Kaepernick, who hasn't played in 4 years? I mean, I don't know. I'd almost rather roll the dice with Colin Kaepernick at that point for the backup quarterback. But that's a decision that Minnesota would have to look into. And like you said, you just want to see where he's at. He's also Colin Kaepernick also has some other really important stuff that he's going to currently speaking about that's going on right now. So I don't necessarily know if him playing football is even the best use of his time. He can make probably a bigger impact doing other things with his life right now than playing quarterback in the NFL.
Now, some experts have said that Minnesota would be the best fit for Colin Kaepernick. And Minnesota has been one of the teams that has been more than welcome to welcoming players who have been
Right.
protesting or are aware of social change. They haven't been firing a lot of players for comments or their beliefs. And of course, with everything going on in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area and cities all around the world, you kind of have to be careful and take a conservative tone with everything going around if you are a public entity and you don't want to be caught too deep in any side of the conversation.
Hmm.
But on the positive note, US Bank Stadium has been a spot where a lot of the protesters have been meeting up and starting their marches. And so far, there hasn't really been any damage to the commons or the stadium. And I'm hoping it stays that way because that really is a stadium of the people, and destroying it would be such a waste.
Yeah, right. And for just like a football fit for Colin Kaepernick in Minnesota, I always viewed him as more of kind of like the scrambling quarterback, move the pocket, get outside the pocket, make some plays with his feet. That's kind of the opposite of Kirk Cousins. So
Right.
I don't necessarily know if there's a system fit. He honestly like the Ravens got RG3 as their backup too. But I was gonna say if they didn't have like RG3, like he would fit more with like a Baltimore offense. I would think anyway.
Well, what is it? The Chargers that are rolling with Tyrod Taylor?
Oh God, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's the Chargers with Tyrod.
Because yeah, I mean there are teams that could probably use his services
Right.
where he could push for a starting job, and Minnesota wouldn't be one of them. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The first couple of years Kaepernick was in the league, he
Hmm.
absolutely tore teams up with his ability to throw the deep ball or run with the ball when things started to break down. We saw him destroy the Green Bay Packers on multiple occasions,
Yeah.
especially in the playoffs, and it was just amazing to watch at times. But I don't know if he's that player anymore, and I know that we've spent a lot of time talking about Colin Kaepernick today, and that's not really something that we were anticipating, but I do hope that he gets a fair shake because I don't like to see a player blackballed from the league for political beliefs.
Yeah.
But we did kind of see the flip side of that too, with a lot of grief landing on Tim Tebow for his religious beliefs, and I just don't see how a lot of this has anything to do with football.
Yeah, it's you're correct.
What else we got?
Let's see here. You want to move on to the main topic?
Yeah, let's make this a half-hour show. Let's get this rolling.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's spend 5 minutes on the main topic and be like, okay, see you guys later. Bye. There's really like I googled like Minnesota Vikings news like I always do when I go to do the notes and stuff.
Yeah.
And it is like a quiet off season with like coronavirus and everything else currently going on right now, where you are just immediately like, this story happened 15 days ago. This news piece happened 18 days ago. It's like there is not anything going on in terms of Vikings news right now, which is why it would be a perfect time for the team to decide, well, what are we going to do with Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer, who are both in need of... what are you doing with your headset?
Scratching my ear.
Gotcha. Who are both in need of contract extensions, or maybe not.
Well, the Vikings could always do what every other team is doing right now and rebranding their logo again.
Yeah, we could come up with a new logo
Get some
and
new jerseys again.
New uniforms. You want new uniforms? Maybe we'll cut the little swish part off.
No, leave the serifs.
I actually don't mind that.
All right, so the main topic. What have we got going on again? I lost track.
Should the Vikings extend Rick Spielman or Mike Zimmer?
Yep.
Or should they wait until the season is over?
Nope. Rick Spielman he's missed some picks in the first round, but honestly, when you go back and you look historically about misses in the first round, he actually isn't too far off from the league average, and his ability to find some diamonds in the rough in late rounds or undrafted free agents so far has been real good. Then you can flip it over and look at Mike Zimmer, who took over a team that was just floundering, especially on defense, and made a big difference and made the Vikings a perennial playoff contender, if not a playoff team every other year or so, it seems. But yeah, I don't see another head coach out there or another GM out there that could possibly step in and do what Spielman or Zimmer has been doing.
Yeah, I mean, for one thing, remember when everyone was so adamant about how, well, we need to bring John Gruden out of retirement? Oh, John Gruden, look at Oakland, or well, now Las Vegas. Like, right. It's not like Gruden just immediately made contenders out of the Raiders. Like, he gutted that team. And they've done some other kind of questionable decisions underneath him and Mike Mayock. So the grass is not always greener on just going for, hey, here's a head coaching name that I recognize out there. You gotta find a good fit for the team too. So the way I look at it is like, if you're getting rid of Rick Spielman, any general manager who's going to come in is basically going to want to start over with his people. He wants to rebuild the team from scratch. So if you get rid of Rick Spielman, you're essentially committing to getting rid of Mike Zimmer and gutting the entire team.
And if you get rid of Spielman, Peyton's gone.
Yep.
He'll walk.
Yep.
I think a lot of the stuff that this team has built is based on their connections with each other. And, of course, the Zimmer blood runs through that coaching unit. And then you've got friends of Zimmer's that have been in the NFL for a while, filling out the coaching staff. You've got people that they played with, people that they mentored. And it's just odd to see a team built so well and some fans wanting to pick that apart.
Yeah, I don't understand that. And like you said, the team was historically bad when Mike Zimmer took over. They were
really
coming off they were coming off a 3-win season, and that 3-win season was one of the worst seasons in the history of the Minnesota Vikings. Like, they've only finished they've only finished with less wins than that, I think maybe twice. So that was just
Those Les
terrible from
Steckel seasons.
yeah. And Zimmer, since coming in, has built a top 10 defense, I think, almost the entire time that he's been the head coach of this team. So he has really got the defense on track. They've had a little bit of issues with stability at quarterback, but hey, that's been the history of this franchise. we
True.
haven't had stability at quarterback since like Fran Tarkenton. So I mean, I don't know. That's really not that big of a deal. I like what Rick Spielman has done in building this team, Adam. Like you said,
Yeah.
he's had a few misses, but I think most general managers are going to have a couple misses here or there. His wins, he's hit. He's hit more home runs, in my opinion, that make up for the Christian Ponders and the Laquan Treadwells of the world.
And I'll say this: nobody gets more value for the trade assets that I know of than Rick Spielman.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody. The fact
No.
that he can make the trades that he makes and get what he does in exchange for the players that he or picks that he has, unbelievable.
Yeah, what the team got for Percy Harvin, where
Yeah.
they fleeced the Seahawks for Percy Harvin, and then Buffalo, what they got for Stephon Diggs, which I don't. The article up on the Viking Age where you guys talk about how Mike Zimmer said that they weren't really planning on trading Diggs, but the offer that they got from Buffalo just blew them away. I don't know how much
Yeah.
you buy. I don't know how much you buy into that. How much of that was coach speak? But
Oh, I buy that completely. Because Buffalo, I guess, sees him as a number one. So
Yeah.
they were willing to give number one. But then after seeing what some of the other number ones went for, that DeAndre Hopkins trade just looks
yeah,
disgustingly horrible now.
pitiful in comparison. So I mean, you gotta even if let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they legitimately were not looking to shop Stephon Diggs. If they were that blown away by that offer, you've kind of got to give them credit for saying, "Yeah, we'll take it."
How much I bet that Spielman still finagled a little bit and got at least, moving the fifth to a fourth or sliding that seventh in there.
Right.
He loves those sevenths.
I also picture Rick Spielman doing the Ted DiBiase $1 Million Man laugh, where he's
As
like,
soon as he hangs up the phone.
as soon as he hangs up the phone, where he's like, "Well, we weren't gonna trade Stephon Diggs, but everyone's got a price."
True.
and
Absolutely true.
Buffalo hit it.
While we're on the subject of wrestling, and since we only have one viewer,
Right.
we dabble every once in a while talking about Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, and the WWE,
Yeah.
and how they were former Minnesota Vikings practice guys that came in and had a tryout with the team for a little while and didn't make the roster, but it was
Right.
nice seeing them in purple and gold. Well, I don't know if you guys have watched the new David Spade movie, The Wrong Missy, but Roman Reigns makes a
Is
nice
that the one that
appearance
Roman
in that.
Reigns is in?
Yeah.
I've seen the screenshots of it on Twitter.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. I got some laughs out of it. It's not a good movie. If you're watching it thinking it might win an award or something, it's not gonna. But you'll probably get a few laughs.
Hey, it depends how you define good movie. Did you enjoy it?
I had a good time watching it.
So you had a good time watching it. You got a couple laughs out of it. It's comedy. It's good.
It's not going to get an Oscar.
No, that don't matter. That don't matter. It means it's a good movie. If you liked it.
We have a question in the chat here from Austin. He says, if the O-line breaks down again, well, I guess it's not a question, it's a statement. I'd rather have a guy that's not a stick in the mud, but I don't know if he's worth that. I would rather have Griff back. And yeah, the O-line's a whole nother issue because I like what I see on tape from Ezra Cleveland, and I don't know where the Vikings are going to put him.
I don't.
We talk about this every week, and I don't know if he's going to be a left tackle, right tackle. They're going to try to put him in at guard. I don't know if they're going to slide players around. If they see him as left tackle, and then maybe move Reef to right tackle and Brian O'Neill inside to right guard. I have no idea how this all is going to shake out. But
Hey, if it helps, I don't think the Vikings know how all this is going to shake out. I feel like they probably have a whiteboard with an eraser ready to go on how to shuffle all these pieces around and write people in. And
The one thing
we're
I do
not.
like is adding talent to a unit.
Yeah, definitely,
Because
definitely.
let's face it, that offensive line, they were lacking in talent. And a lot of that was because players that they were relying on and a lot of fans didn't really appreciate at the time ended up leaving or retiring.
Hmm.
Uh, both their guards ended up, Berger retired. The other went to, I think, the Saints.
Yeah.
And then they had the issue with Pat Elflein moving away from center, moving to guard, and then having to replace that, and Elflein still not living up. Bradbury struggling at center, and those are two players that will need to step up. But now they've also got their three other big guys, and I'm sure those three guys will fill out that spot. I'm sure they will. Those will be the other three. But where they end up, I have absolutely no clue.
All that I know is that I really like Ezra Cleveland. I think that his tape is just excellent. I think he'll be a good fit for this team, and I'm excited to see what they do with him. I still think you put him at the guard position, but you don't know, and we won't really know until we start to see this team in pads and out there doing some practice, and we get to see some tape on them. Which what was it? They're talking maybe about starting to do some of that. What is it? The end of June, beginning of July.
Yeah, it with how limited the offseason activities are going to be with the team, or if they delay the season or whatever happens,
Yeah.
uh, these rookies probably won't get the full opportunities that they normally had with the team. So you might see them kind of come into the league and be a little slower to develop. And I'd have no problem with Ezra Cleveland moving inside as he learns a little bit more about the tackle position in practice and with the coaches.
Yeah.
And if that's what they want to do, if they want to throw him in at left tackle, we can see what Riley Reif's going to do and how they're going to move things around with Brian O'Neill. And the options are there. That's what I like. But the fact that Ezra Cleveland might not have the opportunity he might have during a regular offseason.
During a normal off season. Yeah.
Right. A little sad. Well, that's really all I have for now.
Yeah, it's a short show this week. Not a lot of Vikings news going on at the moment.
No, and I anticipate our next show will probably be another one where not much happens. But then again, as soon as we usually end a broadcast, something happens. So
Yeah, we'll get done with this week's episode, and the Vikings will have fired Rick Spielman or or
probably,
something like that, because that happens to us every single time.
like me talking about how good Greg Jennings is going to be with partnering him up with Mike Wallace.
Yeah, I
I don't
remember
like
that.
the idea of Mike Wallace, but Greg Jennings should get more targets if he runs deep routes. Mike Wallace arrives, and Greg Jennings gets cut.
Yeah.
Oh.
I remember we had to put a disclaimer out for that episode. We were like, well, guys, we recorded this last night.
Yeah, that was when we weren't live, so we had
We
to
were.
like that. By the way, I know we've said it before, and I'm definitely going to say it again. I am never not doing this live ever again.
Hey, thanks, Austin. That's what we're here for. We try to be entertainment, and we don't want to not talk about what's going on, because there's a lot of really important stuff going on right now. But we're a Viking show, and we just kind of want to be, even if it's a half-hour break from everything else, where we just want to come in and be Vikings fans. I think that's important, too.
Of course, we all want everybody to stay safe. We want
Definitely.
everybody to take good care of themselves and those they love, because right now, yeah, things are a little scary all around the world for
Yeah.
many reasons. But there's no real reason to let that pile on too much on a Vikings-based podcast. And I know a lot of people will be throwing a lot of their own commentary in, and I think that's something more that we can do on our personal accounts if that's what we want to do.
Right. Right.
For this show, I'm just enjoying talking with the people in the chat, talking about football, and I'm honestly just still excited that we are going to get a chance to watch football this year, and it does look like that's going to happen because a lot of sports are either going to be limited or be completely shut down. And I think it's really special. The NFL still wants to do this for their fans.
Hey, I tell you what. If they do something where it's like there will be a fan and then we're gonna have 6 empty seats and another fan, I tell you what. I work retail. If I'm gonna get coronavirus, I'm probably gonna get it from work. I go to a Vikings game and sit 6 seats apart from someone else. That'd still be fun.
Yeah, it's weird that the tickets are still going on sale as if everything's normal. I figured that would be something that would be put on hold and things that they'd try to figure out maybe a little bit later. But for now, I'm glad that they're at least not pretending like things are normal, but hoping that things will be back to the way they were for football anyway. As far as social change, I do hope that something happens there and some peace can be found and people get their rights and all that. Not trying to stomp on any of that when I say normal, but I just want normal football.
Normal Vikings football, yeah.
Give me some normal Vikings football. I'll be a very, very happy guy.
Right.
All right, so I'm going to plug the Viking Age because that's where I do my thing. I've been putting out some articles over there. I believe I put out the 5 best moves the Vikings made this offseason. Put one out talking about projected starters. There have been quite a few pieces I've put out over there. Over on Undead Walking, I haven't been as active, but I've been working on a couple pieces over there that I can check out in the future. And it's really, really great that people can support me over there. And not only that, but I can pay my bills from doing something I love. And that's writing about The Walking Dead and Minnesota Vikings football. And this is a passion project. I make my money over there, but over there I also have a good time talking about something that I love.
Hey, Adam, I have a Walking Dead question for you.
Okay.
The movies.
Yes.
Are they still happening? Are they still going to do the standalone movies with Rick?
Yes, but they have moved out of theaters. They will now be exclusive to AMC.
What does that mean? Like, would they go to AMC theaters or like a streaming service?
They could do a special event for AMC. I'm not sure, but I do know that they made the deal. I believe it's with Paramount, and Paramount got really mad because a lot of movies moved to direct digital viewings.
Oh, I'd heard about that. Some distributors got pissy over movies going. You can rent them from your computer for like $20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And movie theaters didn't like that. They wanted, the industry to be put on hold so they could put the movies into theaters and get the money from the people in the seats, So yeah, maybe something will be worked out there and they'll head back into theaters, but for now
I'm assuming
the plan I believe is on AMC Premiere. Followed by AMC. That's their standalone service. You know how everybody has their standalone service.
I didn't know AMC has their own streaming service
too. The problem with AMC Premiere, and this is me going off on a little bit of a rant.
Hey, go for it.
I would buy AMC Premiere to watch The Walking Dead and stuff because you can watch it on Fridays instead of Sundays.
Cool.
And I'd buy it, but you need a cable plan to add it on.
That defeats the purpose.
Yeah, I cut the cord a while ago. I don't have live TV. When I watch a Vikings game, I have to find a stream, or I've got to have a friend give me a login so they can, from Minneapolis, let me watch their Fox stream or whatever. But yeah,
someone needs you.
Someone does need me, but I gotta cut that off. But yeah, if they had their own standalone service, I probably would buy it. But I'm not getting cable, so I can do that. Cable's such a ripoff.
If you were gonna get cable, you could just watch Walking Dead on AMC.
Yeah, but I'd have to wait till Sunday.
I know, but yeah, I don't
And dodging
understand.
spoilers from Friday to Sunday, that's not a lot of fun.
Not good. It's not gonna happen.
You can do your best, and it's still not good enough.
Right.
But yeah, do you have anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I got my photography website up. I don't know if you can put the banner link down on the bottom.
I don't really know how, but
You got all the master controls there, Adam.
they're
But
there.
if
I
you,
just don't do it.
that's okay. It's a little bit different, a little bit longer than what I'd like, but that's okay. It's redbubble.phantasmdigital.com is where you can go to see my photography work. I have all kinds of new prints and stuff that are available. I have a lot of newer work that was not available before. I will eventually be putting up some Purple People podcast logos. I just have to get around to making some new ones. But you'll be able to get all of our stuff on t-shirts and hoodies and whatever else you want, you can get it.
Nice.
So, yeah, you can check my work out if you'd like.
Absolutely, and I recommend you do that.
Awesome.
Well, we still went over 45 minutes, so I'd like to thank everyone who hung out with us in the chat here, everybody who listens later, everybody who interacts on social media, as well as those who like, share, and subscribe and do all that fancy stuff.
You
Because,
know how
yeah,
YouTube works. Do it.
we might be a free, no ad place to talk about the Minnesota Vikings, but all that stuff, the liking, sharing, subscribing, even commenting, that all helps, and we appreciate that.
Yes, we do.
On that note, once again, I'd like to thank everyone for helping us out, and we'll be back, hopefully all three of us, to talk about Minnesota Vikings football next week. Stay classy, Minnesota.